Hi guys, welcome back to another Overthrow Disc Golf video. I'm Josh, thanks so much for tuning in. Today we will be talking about how to putt in disc golf. We're going to start with an overview, so if you feel like you've already mastered the basics, feel free to skip ahead. We will leave timestamps and chapter divisions down below. But be sure to stay around because we're going to have a very important practice tip at the end of the video. First, let's get you a comfortable grip. So I want you to start with the disc in the heel of your hand like this, and then I want you to roll it up towards your index finger. Your palm should be flush against the disc here. We don't want this thing wobbling around when you go to putt. Next, I want you to take your thumb and your middle finger, and I want you to connect them together in the middle of the flight plate, something like this. This is where we're going to transfer energy into the disc. Lastly, just put these remaining fingers wherever's comfortable. Now, your grip should look something like this. If the index finger is up like this, that's fine. You're probably going to be more of a push or a spush putter. And if the finger's down, that's cool too. If these bottom three fingers are more in towards the flight plate, that's also fine. That again is going to lead to more of a spush putting style, while if you tuck these fingers here, it's going to lend itself to a little more of a spin putting style. Next, we're going to talk about some very important guiding principles for putting. First, and this is by far the most important, everything that we're going to talk about today, how your legs are, how your arms are, how your stance is, your shoulders, your pull back, your release, all of these things serve one very important purpose, and that is to pull the disc back and to move the disc forward on one straight line. Second, we want to create a putting routine that is simple and repeatable. Don't do in 10 steps what you can do in 2. That just means you have 8 more chances to mess up. Third, take your time. If you rush through your take back, you're more likely to pull the disc offline. But if you control your take back, you're more likely to keep the disc online as you go to accelerate. A helpful tool is to inhale as you take the disc back and then exhale as you go to accelerate. Now we've covered the basics, and I'm about to go into detail on each of the putting styles. If you already know which putting style you are, I recommend skipping ahead. If you're a complete beginner, I would recommend pausing the video, finding a basket, and just using the guiding principles, get confident making 10-footers. Pause here. Now that you've done that, I want you to take note of how you're putting on a straight line. What are you doing to make that happen? Is your arm bent? Is your arm straight? Are your shoulders straight? Do you spin the disc? Are you kind of pushing the disc up? All these things are going to help us identify what your putting style is in the next segment. There are 3 types of putts, and before I get into each of them, as a disclaimer, my goal is not to say that everyone in that putting style putts exactly the same. The goal is to give guidance on where to start and the things to look for. At the end of the day, putting's all about putting the disc on a straight line in a repeatable manner. Let's get into it. The first style is a spin putt. As its name suggests, this style relies heavily upon putting spin on the disc to propel it forward. And they get that spin by opening up the elbow, similar to what we do on our drives. The take back is primarily a backwards motion, finishing with the arm bent in about a 90-degree angle, somewhere in between the belt and the chest. With the arm bent, you notice that the back of my hand is facing the basket. This means that in order to get the disc to travel in a straight line, I have to sort of pull the disc forward, finishing with the locking of my elbow and my hand open at the target. I wouldn't recommend breaking the wrist too much on take back, because then you have to time 2 movements, the snapping of the wrist with the opening of the elbow. You'd get more spin, but it would come at the expense of consistency. Since spin putters are pulling straight into their body, it's usually beneficial to have the shoulders lined up square with the basket, while the legs are just in a comfortable athletic stance. When a spin putter wants to add more power, they have to find a way to pull the disc back further into their body. This means getting lower in the stance and sticking out that bum a bit more. For jump putting, spin putters will need to create a little more separation in the legs, load the back leg, and then explode forward off that back toe. If you'd like to see a pro spin putter, I recommend checking out Simon Lizotte. If you'd like to see a pro spin putter, I would recommend checking out Simon Lizotte. We'll leave the link down below. The second type of putt is a push putt. The push comes from pushing up on the flight plate. Some push putters refer to this feeling as a pop. The take back is down and very low, finishing with the arm fully extended somewhere between the ankles and the groin. The release point ends up being somewhere around the waist for push putters, and their arms stay straight all the way from the take back through the release point and well past it in the follow through. Since the push putt doesn't have the straightening of the elbow that the spin or the spush putts have, it usually takes a little longer to get comfortable with the release point from a timing standpoint. I would definitely recommend a straddle stance if you're learning to push putt, since everything is very straightforward. The hips, shoulders, arm, take back. For a staggered stance, it's pretty common for push putters to have the back leg flared out a little bit to create more take back room. Also, with the staggered stance, push putters will generally angle the shoulders away from the target a little bit. This allows them to lift straight up with the arm to keep the disc on line. The push putter creates more space for acceleration by taking the disc further back and down. Since you'll have more speed going into the release point, it's natural to extend the follow through further along the line than you would with a shorter putt. It should be added here that push putters can use the wrist as a mechanism for gaining a little bit of speed. They can load the wrist and pop it at release to gain a bit of added distance. Jump putting doesn't happen much with a staggered stance, since the front leg tends to be straighter on the take back. It's very doable though with the straddle putt. The energy for the jumper will come from loading down into the legs and exploding upwards, adding to the push effect. If you'd like to watch a push putter in action, I would recommend watching Kevin Jones. We'll leave the link down below. The last type is a spush putt. Called a spush putt because it's combining. I think they sing that in Oh Holy Night. Called a spush putt because it combines spin mechanics and push mechanics, thus spush. Because of this, it's hard to make generalizations about spush putters. To make this easier, I've created two subclasses of spush putters. The first is an S-class spush putter, such as Eagle McMahon. S-class for a spin spush putter, because he uses way more of the spin putt mechanics than he does of the push putt mechanics. The second type is a P-class spush putter, such as Paul McBeth, because he uses way more of the push putt mechanics than he does of the spin putt mechanics. So if we were to put Eagle and Paul on a putting scale, it might look something like this. For S-class spushers, the arm in the take back is slightly bent. Not 90 degrees like a spin putter, not straight like a push putter, but somewhere in between. The take back is going to be down around the waist, allowing them to get more backward movement and a little more bend in the arm. They will pull the disc forward towards the release point, which is about basket height. They're gonna lock out the elbow and they're gonna finish with their hand in place. Since they pull the disc back into their body like a spin putter, they're gonna square their shoulders up a little more, and they're gonna keep their legs in an athletic stance. The straddle stance is very straightforward with an S-class push putter because they just square up the shoulders, square up the hips, pull center mass, and then release. When they wanna add power, they're gonna load further back into their stance, pull the disc more into their body, and then explode forward off that back leg. Jump putting is very simple for them. They just load a little bit deeper and a little bit further back in their stance before exploding forward and up. The take back for P-class pushers is more downward, finishing towards the inside of the left leg, finishing with their arms slightly bent. Then they'll move upward to the release, locking out the elbow, and then following through with the hand upward past the release point. They'll need to have their shoulders angled away from the target a little bit, since their motion is pulling the disc upwards from the inside of their leg. The legs are going to be in a comfortable athletic stance with the back leg flaring out a little bit away from the target. Now the straddle putt can be a little bit tricky. What you'll see Paul do is he'll angle his right knee inward, and this is to keep the disc in a straight line from the inside of his left leg like he does with his stagger stance up through the basket. If you're struggling with a straddle putt, try experimenting with this. To add power, P-class pushers can pull a disc a little bit further down and finish with a hand higher past the release point. They also have the option of loading down into the legs as opposed to just back, and it'll add to the push effect. Again, just like all spush putters, jump putting is fairly natural. Just load further down and further back in your stance. As a side note, one of the things that makes spush putters so dangerous is that they are extremely versatile. You'll see Eagle, if he wants to put a little more loft on a putt, adopt more of a push style in his putt. Paul also can very easily add spin to that putt if he needs to hit a tight gap. If you'd like to see some footage of Paul and Eagle putting, check out the links below. I hope now you have an idea of what putting style suits you best. Before you leave, I want to give you one very practical practice tip. I want you to add one thing to your putting practice: a rope. I just want you to tie it around the pole of your basket, pull it straight back, and I want you to practice putting over the rope. Really focus on keeping the disc over the rope the entire time, and just go through your motion. If you got a stagger stance, just rock back and forth, keeping your disc over the rope. Don't let the disc leave the line at all. And I think what you'll find is that this will naturally line up your body properly, and it'll eliminate any extra movement in your take back or your follow through that's gonna pull the disc offline. Off center. Thank you guys so much for watching. Cannot thank you enough for the support that we've seen so far. If you found value in this, please share it with someone else who you think might find value as well. Until next time, peace out. Okay, so we're good.
Oh gosh.
You good, dude?
My bad.
You're just missing one of the remaining sounds there.